Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video, and something a little bit different, because today is the start of my F1 23 game idea series. I'm going to start slightly different to what we've done in previous years, where we've pretty much copied the same order of video. I'm going to start with 10 driver and general career mode ideas. Now, if you've got any ideas of your own that I haven't mentioned, then please do put them in the comments below, and I'll make sure, if there are enough, then I'll add them to a future episode of the series. But yeah, starting slightly differently with driver and general career, my team is getting a separate video coming next week, I should point out, so get subscribed to see that as well. But first of all is, quite simply, the return of interviews. The interview system that they've replaced it with comes from the marketing department, and I guess it's okay, but they keep asking you about rivals, and there's stuff here that really should be interviews stuff. Obviously, it's just a bit very bland. So yes, even though I really don't like Claire's way of questioning, her sighing, I'd rather have her in the game than not have her than what we've got in F1 22. And I also want to see this improved. So first of all, media pen. We saw the media pen that was introduced in Breaking Point in F1 2021. I think this is a must. They must add this media pen to the game. It's where in real life all the drivers answer their questions and not at these random locations all over the paddock. Secondly, press conferences haven't been seen since either F1 2010 or F1 2011 as well. Only seen at the start really of those games, to be fair, where it confirms your name, but you know, having press conferences as well where they answer more intriguing questions would be good. And the third thing that I want to see, briefly seen in F1 2019 where we had that story mode of Lucas Faber and Devon Butler, when they moved to F1 they quickly decided that to try and continue the story mode, that they would introduce these sort of media articles. So you'd get an email from Emma to say such and such says something with a transcript. Something like that would actually be quite cool to reintroduce it, but for every driver. It's actually a cheap way to do, because you're not actually recording any sound with it. It's just a media transcript basically. Maybe dash that up into an actual article, like you see on the BBC website or any of the other Autosport or whatever motorsport website you fancy. Number 2 is driver/team relationships. Now, this is an idea I've had previously. It's based, this idea, on F1 2019, where you'd had like a bar graph, or to show where you were, what each team thought of you basically, because of course back then you had sporting and showmanship personality traits as well in the game, which, should they bring those back? They were actually quite a nice touch, to be honest. Fits with the team's values, the HR department as well, sort of thing. Doesn't really work for my team, but for driver career mode, definitely, if they decide to expand that marketing department, which I think they should, and then obviously you got stuff acclaimed to that. I'll come back to that, but obviously have that expanded so also you get a driver. So if you have an incident on track and you don't apologise to a driver and they think you've in the wrong, and their team also thinks you're wrong, then obviously your relationship is going to go down with that team compared to somebody else. If you get asked a question, you might get asked a question, who do you want to win the world championship, and then your relationship will go down with the driver. You say, oh well, that you're not backing and up against with the one you are. Stuff like that would be absolutely really cool, and that might also come back if you're trying to move to a team where a certain driver that doesn't like you, they might try to either leave the team, or they will try and block you moving to, they could try and block to move to the team, make this career mode very spicy indeed. Number 3, better department events, because most of the times, yes, I agree, it's very good that they actually introduced it now to drive career mode, but most of the time that's just to get around the fact they removed interviews from F1 22. Yes, there are those little ones, but I want to see a bit more of the other departments as opposed to just the marketing department. I want to see maybe the personnel department come up with some training regime. I want to see the aero, Sashi, and all the other departments come up with a whole range of R&D issues. Give those dilemmas as well. Make sure that they are in the game. Number 4, better driver transfers. I think we can all agree on that. Don't really need to say anything more than that. We'd like to have the toxicity that we had at the start of F1 2019 in the game. That's the level that we want, I think. Obviously, might have some options to turn that down or turn it up. Give us those options though, because at the moment they're just, if you can go, if you there is a high chance that you will go from one season to another without having any transfers. Even though it says driver transfers are on, no transfer will occur if you stay with the same team, if you keep the same teammate in my team. There's a high chance that nothing will actually happen, which is very boring for the player as well. So, you know, if you want to keep the player interested, Codemasters, you're going to need to do something with driver transfers from season to season. Number 5, contracts. Now, contracts are pretty useless on the F1 game these days. Used to have driver status. I think this was also on F1 2019, funny enough, where you'd have a first or second status. And I think I did mention all those years ago about having an equal driver status as well added in there. Bonuses as well if you do well. That works both ways, by the way. In my team, you give bonuses to your drivers, your staff, the engineers, etc., etc. Similar to what you do in F1 Manager. And then money, even in driver career mode, you still got you got your bills, you got your PR, the agent, and all of that lot that you've got to manage as well. Adding that little bit, yes, I know the finances aren't as big in driver career mode. In actual fact, they're only in driver career mode used to buy perks, and that's it. Otherwise, the finances are pretty useless. But I do think they could do a little bit of work. It's not going to be a big bit of work because the finances are in my team. I'll come back to that next week. But I do think that, you know, having a little bit of, you know, just even if it's just a monthly incoming and outgoings would actually explain where that money is, because you only for some reason in driver career mode you only get the money in the account, in the total, over the amount that your base salary is and your base payout is of your contract. That's it, nothing else, which is a bit stupid really. As well, sponsor outings, I want to say, as well, get those My Team sponsors in driver career mode. Simple as. If you want having those fake sponsors, because there are currently no sponsors, and again, this is a letdown of the game, because you're driving for a team, therefore the team sponsors should be appearing on your helmet in driver career mode, and it's not. I'll come back to that as well in next week's episode, because there's a bit about livery and customization in there as well. But yeah, getting more money for sponsor outings, contract length, signing for multiple seasons, signing for a whole season. Not if you want to do 16 races and you want to sign for one season with a team, then do so. Having that option for contract length, and it works both ways. Allow the AI to have that contract length as well, and obviously then the buyouts. Maybe have people like free agents, who have been kicked out of a team, like Sergio Perez. When he signed for Red Bull, they didn't have to pay Racing Point and now Aston Martin any money whatsoever because he was a free agent. They'd signed Vettel alongside, and then obviously clauses as well to show how much your payout is. Number 6, acclaim. Now, again, it's links back to sponsor events. Really, obviously, if you do well at a sponsor event, and obviously it's another way to increase acclaim. I don't like the supercar outings that they give you a certain amount of acclaim. I do like what they've done with the department events, where you can get acclaim off if you answer the questions correctly, like we saw in yesterday's Drive Career Mode episode. I did like that a little bit as well. If it worked out, if it doesn't work out, then you minus acclaim as well. Acclaim needs to work both ways, and I don't think it works both ways enough, because you can still do terrible in a race and you will still go up acclaim. Like, it's far too easy to just shoot up to level 25 acclaim, or, well, not level 25 acclaim, but I'm on level 14 acclaim already in a second season of Formula 1. I'm level on now. Yes, I've won multiple races in season 2, but I'm now on the same level of Gasly, even though Gasly's been in F1 a lot longer than the 2 seasons that I've done as well. But then maybe we need to have focus and acclaim brought together. So if you got bad focus and you're in bad form, then that's going to keep on decreasing your claim. But I don't want them to touch a claim with focus until they actually guarantee that the focus stat is actually fixed, because on the past 2 games, F1 2021 and F1 2022, the only 2 games to ever have the focus stat, it's both been broken as well, and drivers just end up being miserable. So I hope that they fix the focus stat, and then if they fix the focus stat, have that linked to acclaim, so acclaim will then go down if driver continues to perform poorly. Number 7, cutscenes. Pretty much simple. They need to be re-added in. It adds immersion to the game, as we saw a little bit when we had revisited F1 2020 last Friday, but particularly because it makes the game actually more immersive, and it makes the game last longer as well. And it's actually got to a point where it's worse, because they've removed Emma's face in a patch on F1 22. Her face was there at the start of the game, and now her face is gone, and all you get is this blank silhouette telling you to do better, and you haven't got a rival. They need to be doing better on that. I do think that they should be having a race debrief as a cutscene, maybe not every race, but a couple of the races have a race debrief as well. And be nice to see some of the cutscenes from Breaking Point make their way over to Driver My Team and 2-player career mode, like one of the examples, a team party maybe as well. Maybe there'll be some financial things, and have the department events are a good idea, but there needs to be some cutscenes associated with those department events, just to make them actually mean something. Otherwise, the department events are pretty pointless. Well, they're not pretty pointless, but they're very bland. They're just another menu to go through. Number 8, something we've been asking for about 15 million years: pre-season and pre-season testing, because pre-season is very bland. In driver career mode, the only thing is the car unveil, and it doesn't really happen. And you don't get to see those winter months happening whatsoever. As well, it just closes to a season, then re-emerges in March, which isn't that great. And pre-season is non-existent on the game. It's just you present, here's livery, here's a livery for the thing, here's what's drivers that have transferred, if there are any that have actually decided to move teams. That's pretty much pre-season. We want to see a little bit more with that. We want to maybe have a bit of testing, maybe. I don't know, maybe we've got to try and achieve some goals with the R&D again, and that needs to link to R&D. That's a separate episode, R&D, as well. But yes, those things would actually be quite nice to see. Maybe have some sponsor events in the off season as well, to gain some more money and more acclaim. Number 9, customization options. Now, when I mean this, I'm talking about career customization options, not livery customization options. So what I want to see is, I want to be able to move the calendar about which mods you can, iffy mods with the cheat engine. I believe it can be done. But we want to be able to do that for console players. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with Bahrain as the opening round. If you want to I want to be able to put Brazil at the start, or Brazil as the final round. If I want to have Abu Dhabi, etc., etc. I want to see 35% races as well added to career mode. I don't like the fact that there's a very large chasm between the way 25% races are run and 50% races are run. 35% should be the stepping stone between those two types of races, where you might need a hard tyre, compared to a 25% race when you can easily do a soft to medium strategy every single race as well. Just briefly, there's also some sporting regulation changes, but I'm going to come back to that for my team, because obviously my team, you should be able to vote on that. And the final thing is a new menu. We've had the same menu on F1 22 career mode, both driver and my team, and 2-player career mode. There was an F1 2021, there was an F1 2020. It's time for a new menu, Codemasters, to introduce the game. I'll come back to potentially what that could look like in a later episode, as well. So that's where I'm going to leave today's video. If you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and you see plenty more F1 23 game ideas. If you have got any that you want to of your own, then let me know in the comments below. Till the next video then, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your day, and goodbye.